And the reality is, when we're learning more about it from a genetic standpoint, what we've seen is patients are getting better responses, and in some cases, we're able to detect cancer earlier, which means there are a lot of more survivors or people living with their cancer. Um, at present day, we are approaching 2 million new cancer cases a year, which puts a burden on physicians like yourself. Because, I mean, how many more oncologists are coming through training? There are upwards of 18 million cancer survivors, or people with a
Globally.
history of cancer. Um, you have dedicated time to the industry. You treat patients, but you've also dedicated time to industry to increase how we expand patient access to this
Right.
innovation. And I spoke to Dr. Carlo Bafoco, who I'm sure you know, and I'll quote him because he says, 5 or 10 years from now, because of AI, we're going to see patients like we've never seen them before. They're going to come in informed, empowered. And this is essentially what we want to do through these conversations on our podcast. You are chief medical officer and head of strategy at Right, which is an AI platform. Talk to us a little bit about what you do, what your company does, and how this can accelerate this access to precision medicine and genetic information.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rom. So the nothing, by the way, as somebody who's taking care of hundreds, if not thousands of patients, nothing ever replaces the one-on-one interaction with a patient in the exam room. The thank you note that you get from a patient, the hug and the embrace that somebody gives you because you did something really that they really, it's just very different. But the ability to help people is somewhat limited on a one-on-one interaction in the confines of a hospital or an institution. Stepping out of that and going into an industry that allows you to reach tens of thousands of people, the impact could be much, much larger, much, much bigger.
Mhm.
It's just not as personal as you would want it to be. And I really felt I wanted to do that. I felt that maybe there's an opportunity to help more people um, outside of one hospital system at a time. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is something that we hear about every single day. Even, by the way, if you try not to hear about it, you're going to hear about it. Like if you switch the TV and the radio and everything,
Right.
somebody's going to tell you about AI.
Yeah.
So it's going nowhere. It is here to stay. What AI is basically, it's basically a way of trying to make the machines that we utilize smarter to help leverage what we're trying to accomplish. One of the things that we do to transform cancer care is clinical trials. Clinical trials, these are studies that are being done for innovative treatments before they become approved by the FDA and they come to market. Pretty much almost any drug that we have used in cancer at some point was a drug in a clinical trial. So we believe that by being able to accelerate the way we conduct clinical trials, we can make things much faster and more efficient. Why is this important? Because it takes sometimes about 20 years, 20 years from a drug to make it to market and for people to be able to prescribe it from the time we just think about it as a drug that could have an impact on cancer care. So if these 20 years become 15, are we going to save lives or not, especially if the drug is innovative? The answer is yes. I have to tell you, and stories, timing is everything.
Mhm.
This is for your audience and listeners. Every single time that I hear about a drug that is approved by the FDA, number one, I celebrate the success. I celebrate the fact that this actually is wonderful news and it's going to help patients. But then I pause and I reflect on the number of patients that I have lost
Mhm.
because they did not have access to this drug because it was approved now. If this drug was approved 3 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe some of my patients, families, relatives could have been alive if they qualified for this drug. So shortening that time is key because it's not going to have an impact on life and it's going to save lives. The way we do that is with artificial intelligence. So at Right, and thanks for the plug, Right is a small company, and what we're trying to do is we bring artificial intelligence, generative AI, and we apply the software and the technology on the processes and the operational aspects of how we conduct and execute on clinical trials. The goal is to make that cycle of clinical trials shorter. If it takes fewer years to finish a clinical trial, and if we bring a drug to market and help the companies that are manufacturing these drugs to bring the drug to market faster, then we believe we can have a positive impact on patients' lives. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And we do work with many companies that are looking at genetics as well and sequencing, like you mentioned. Every single company that is trying to make a drug, they actually usually have the target approach and what is the molecular aspect of that drug and the disease that they're trying to accomplish as part of what they are trying to do. So, so that's what we're trying to do. We're 2+ years old, and I hope the next time I'm on the show, I'll have a lot of positive information to share with you about what we've done.